Hello, good day. Martin Sabebe is my name, Data Online TV. And today we are here on Youth Political Hangout. And with me we have a very distinguished guest in our midst, a very high-profile youth leaders across Nigeria. And I have with me here Comrade Elvis Akpobi, who is the convener of Not Too Young to Lead. Nice having you, Elvis. How are you feeling?
I'm fine.
Good to have you. The next I have on my very left is Comrade Okonkwo Collins, is the head policy youth, Pan-African Youth Union Commission. Mr. Collins, you're welcome. Nice having you on that online platform. The next I have on my list is Ambassador Ogheneyole. He is the DG, Revival Africa Initiative. Nice having you, Mr. Yole.
Thank you very much.
And the very last, but not the least, we have is Comrade Ushi Israel. Is a co-convener of Not Too Young to Lead. Comrade Israel, nice having you.
Mr. Martin, good to be here.
It's a pleasure. And today we're going to be looking at youth inclusiveness and our role as youth leaders in Nigeria and indeed the world. And I also want to cite to everybody to let everybody know that the youth are the future of every nation. And we have with us a very high caliber of youth who are going to do justice to some of our topics today and to deliberate on a very important role of youth in politics and also in the society. And Mr. Yole, I want to please ask you, how will you rate the current youth participation in politics in Nigeria?
Well, I want to thank you once again. In terms of participation, I think that the awareness is coming up. The youth are trying as much as possible to get involved, to participate in governance in Nigeria, in Delta State and in Africa. But we also have challenge of inclusion. Because participation is different, inclusion is different. People would ordinarily want to participate, but if you don't include them in their affairs, it becomes difficult. Youth participation, if you check the 2019 election, using it as the basis for judgment, you find out that we had like before, we have a large number of youths coming out to contest, coming out to advocate for youths to be included. But beyond the election and so far, governance so far, we still have a challenge of youth inclusion. It is not enough to just add one youth among many into the system and you say you have included the youth. What we are looking at is for the system and the government to look at 30-40% youth inclusion.
Okay, Mr. Yole, I really want to thank you very much for what you just said, but I also want to ask you, is it very possible that the legislature can also make it as a law to be amended in our constitution so that it can be a law that is binding to every government that you must include 40% of youth or women in leadership?
It's a two-way thing. First, if it is for elective positions, it's difficult. Because when you make it, say it's 40% youth inclusion, that means in terms of elective position, you'll be infringing on the right of some persons.
Okay, what are the challenges?
But wait, let me
just a moment. What are the challenges the youth are actually facing to be part of elective positions in Nigeria?
Yes, normally the major challenge we are having as youths are two major challenges. One is the issue of finance, funding for elections, and the second is the awareness of the people. It has not actually dawned on us to understand fully what it means to give youth support. But like the question you asked before, in the area of appointment, there could be legislation to that effect. To say, yes, we know that the governor or the president has the power to appoint a set of persons, but there must be 40% or 30% youth. And
okay, Mr. Just a moment. Let me quickly talk to Mr. Elvis Akpobi. Mr. Elvis Akpobi, Comrade Yole actually talked about financial challenge, which is financial constraint for youth to also be able to participate in elective position. What are really the problem why youth are not being able to participate because of due to capital intensive? What do you think is really the problem why they don't have access to funds?
Firstly, you don't give what you don't have. Let's take for example, as a young person, you just finished school. You've not started working. But back in school, you were an SUG leader, you had good leadership attributes. coupled with the system and the environment we find ourselves, everything goes for money. There's been a culture. That's a culture we need to deconstruct. That people shouldn't place money first. Let's place value and integrity as a.
Just a moment. Are you saying money is not important?
I've not said money is important. I'm just saying there are places. Let me use the UK, for example, to the best of my knowledge, where I was meant to understand that they come out to vote. They give you privilege to run for an election, irrespective of your financial status. But here, you should have, when you want to come out as a young person, you will find out that same young persons will be like, each time you call them for meeting, trying to work on their conscience, they'll be like, there are no handouts, you didn't give handouts. You find out that people will not support you.
I also want to ask, thank you very much, Mr. Elvis, our very good head of policy on African Youth Union Commission, Mr. Okonkwo, that what are your recommendations for youth to also be part of an elective position in Nigeria?
Well, if I would align my thoughts with my fellow colleagues who are here, it is important when we talk about the issue of the young people, particularly as it relates to the youth, using Nigeria as a case study. When we talk about recommendation, there's a global advocacy at the moment that is ongoing. And one of those global advocacy on young people is, first, you need to understand the 35% affirmative action on youth inclusion. You know, when we talk about youth inclusion, we stratify youth inclusion in policy and decision-making arm. There is a word that, you know, we look at today, looking at the society and looking at the young people. We need to understand that there is no future for us without us. So for instance, if we have a government in place, the government cannot regulate policies without getting the young people involved in making decisions as it relates to them.
Just a moment, how do the government get to involve the youth in making such decisions when the youth are not part of the government?
Okay, now that is where the government may also fail. If the government does not involve the young people in policy and decision-making arm. And that is why I said that there is no future for us without us. Now, we need to also understand that as a system, you know, as a system, talking about the political system in Nigeria today, we have various ministries that relate to governance, particularly as it concerns the young people, the Ministry of Youth. Do you know that we have the Ministry of Youth and we also have the National Youth Policy? The youth policy deals with a lot of things that affect the young persons. And now, if we are talking about getting the young people involved, we must also create a modeling system that will mainstream them into the process. That is, when you mainstream them, you create the platform for them to demonstrate their competence.
Okay. So how do you be able to bridge the gap between the policy you're talking about and the youth ministry, federal ministry, which is the Ministry of Youth? How will you be able to bridge the gap between the policies we have, which is the national policy or international policy from the United Nations standard, and to be able to at least bridge the gap between the Ministry of Youth and to see how the ministry can also begin to ensure they implement some of those policies in Nigeria? Is it possible?
Well, if I would answer you clearly, I'm sorry to say that there are a lot of instruments that would have been a rallying point for us to achieve, you know, this advocacy, which also have to do with, you know, organizations that relate with young people, particularly, let me say, for instance, the National Youth Council. The National Youth Council of Nigeria would have been one of the instrument organs that engages the government as it requires or as it affects, you know, the young people. For instance, if we are talking about policy, I told you about the national youth policy. And I told you about what is contained in some of the things that are contained in the youth policy. Now, it is the responsibility of the youth council or youth organizations, civil society organizations that deal with young people, the NGOs that deal with young people, to look into details of what is contained in this policy as it relates to the development of the young people. And then you carry out clear advocacies engaging the government. Like, for instance, we talk about standalone goal. In the 2019 general election, before the 2019 general election, there have been a build-up as of 2012. And one of the build-up, which I'm sure you know, was a coalition of the young people where they came together and started advocating for youth inclusion. And before the youth inclusion, reducing the age brackets of aspirants meeting to the standard of the youth. And those inspirations were drawn from the fact that who are the major people that get involved in the electionary cycle? The young people are the people who actually go to the field to vote and cast their vote for electorates. Beyond that, if I am 17 or 18 years old now, and I have the charisma and competence or the leadership qualities to contest an election in my community. For instance, of course, I've been disqualified automatically because I did not fall.
Let me quickly, just a moment. Let me quickly call on Israel to please tell us some of the areas why youth actually, are not being involved in skills acquisition training in Nigeria. What are really the barrier why youth are actually shying away from that responsibility and to be useful to themselves, to be useful to society, and also be a very good product to their family and everyone around them and surrounding.
Thank you very much. In all these things we're saying, we find out that our law is the major problem. It's our law that have created our curriculum vitae in our schools. It's our law that have created our participation over time. And this law has been able to shape in us in a way that we have been trained to look for white collar jobs. We have been trained that after school there is a job waiting for you somewhere that now is no longer.
Just a moment, you actually made mention of white collar job, but I know in this 21st century in Nigeria is a little bit very difficult, and for the past 15 years they've not been white collar jobs. So how come youth are still, putting their hope on white collar job in Nigeria?
Because our law has said so. So until we go back to our laws and we address it.
So are you saying because the law has said so, the youth cannot, be part of
for sure.
Shaping their right?
For sure, the realities of today has shown that every youth have to have competence in a certain area, and therefore it's imperative and important that we go all out for that and ensure that we, empower ourselves with some certain level of competencies in every sector of the economy. It might not, be certified or be stratified to one area. No. You might be in entertainment, in all sectors of the economy. But what we are saying is this. My own view on this matter is that until we correct the basis of our laws, until we correct the
just a moment, please, Mr. Israel. Mr. Ogheneyole, what will be the perfect solution to be able to amend some of our laws in our constitution to favor the youth of Nigeria?
Thank you very much. Well, like I said before, like what you were talking about laws and youth participation, even beyond politics to skill acquisition. I think that this country or this continent, Africa, is patterned in a way where the older generation keep on blackmailing the young people. They have not actually given us an opportunity and we have failed. Who said that the youth doesn't engage in skill acquisition? I will take, for instance, my state, Delta State, for example. The first administration of Senator Dr. Hangout introduced the STEP and YAGE program. You need to see the number of people coming from Deltas, coming from all nooks and crannies of Nigeria to come and participate in this trade. And when they put this thing in, remember this is a government policy. They have said, okay, it is our policy to give room to train persons, not only to train them in the skill, but after training them, we give them a starter pack.
How would you rate, just a moment, how would you rate the program of Delta State, which is the YAGEG and the STEP program, or what percentage will you rate the performance of the program on the youth, most especially?
Well, I don't want to basically talk about Delta State, but talking about the STEP and YAGEG program, I think it's a way forward. Because to me, because of the kind of thing we do, if a policy is successful 40%, is a success. And from what we have seen, the Delta State story has had more than 60% success. And I have friends and family members all around testifying to this, to becoming something through this program. Do you understand me? Yes. And now the World Bank have come to say it is a model, that it should be adopted as a model in the country. I'm not trying to praising Delta State, but the point I'm trying to make is that the government should begin to make policies that empowers the young people. Please, before you cut me, have taken time to study the social investment programs by successive government, both states and federal government in this country. None of them have failed. From the time of Obasanjo, Yaradua, Goodluck Jonathan and others, you have Yagep, you have your Shopee, you have your Uwin, you have a lot of things. Anytime you say, even the...
But just a moment, you just said the policy, which is some of the programs the government have introduced, no one has failed. So why is it that it's still very difficult for youth to also be very useful in terms of skills acquisition, where they can also be self-employed in society instead of participating fully in politics, instead of looking for white-collar job, instead of seeking for political position, when we have skills where they can create more jobs for more people in our dear country.
Like I said before, what you just alleged is not a given. It's a blackmail on the young persons. Youth are skilled. We have a lot of skilled youths in the society.
What is the percentage of youth who are skilled?
Let me tell you, I don't really have a rough figure. I don't want to be quoted out of context, but if you check, out of every 10 youths you see in the society, both the ones educated and the ones that are not educated, they are good in a particular area.
Okay, Mr. I will come back just a moment. Let me come back to you. And Mr. Elvis, I still want to hit on this human capital and development in Nigeria, most especially as young people. And if we don't really get fully involved in human capital development, I think we don't have a way forward, and there's no future for us as a nation. And the youth are the future of every nation. And every nation you see, it is being driven, all the economy is being driven by the private sector. And with human capital development, I think the youth can also drive the economy of Nigeria. So what are your take on the issue of human capital development in Nigeria?
Firstly, there's no force more powerful than an empowered, inspired generation. Likewise, there is no force more dangerous than a hopeless, helpless generation. What am I saying?
You just made mention. Are you saying that the youth of Nigeria are frustrated and hopeless?
I've not said so. If you check around, lately there is this increase in insecurity. Helplessness can lead to that.
Okay.
Vast gap of inequality.
Okay.
When 1% of the masses, when 1% of the masses control about 90% of the wealth of a country, there's bound to be tension. I don't know if you get me.
Okay.
Talking about development, if a young person perceive not that this euphoria of luxury have eaten deep into some young persons, I know before now, if a young person receives, is privileged to receive 100,000 in a month, I'm not sure that young person, if you call that young person that let's go and steal or let's go and get involved in any negative vice, I'm not sure that young person will get involved.
So in essence of what you just said now, that your key point is that youth should also be very engaged with a useful skill, or probably invest on themselves, and to be also useful to the society.
Yes, they should create the government, private sector, mostly people. If you are in an environment, you are an investor, you are successful. The last time I was in Warri, I went to a private firm. I noticed it's a foreigner that owns the place, and the person is doing very, very well. I walked up to him and I was like, I noticed you are doing very well. You open a particular eatery somewhere, now this is another launch you are opening. You get, what has been your social corporate responsibility to this place? But as far as I'm concerned, if the people here are not doing well, and you are doing well, you are not safe. So the private sector on their own, wherever they find themselves, their host community, they should learn to bring in some youth.
And so in achieving that, what measures are the government to take or individuals to take to achieve that, so that social corporate responsibility can also be part of our day?
Before they come in, before any foreign investor, anybody, private body come into your vicinity, there's always a memorandum of understanding, be it with the government or be it with the community. While they are signing this memorandum of understanding, they should create room for where young persons will be empowered with skills, tools, even scholarship and all that.
It's not about
okay, just a moment, Mr. Isra, I know you really want to speak, but let me quickly and talk to Mr. Okonkwo. And Mr. Okonkwo, on the same issue of human capital development, and what areas have we as young people got it wrong? and where you think we can amend it?
For me, I feel there was a missing link in the process from your analysis and from where I am meant to speak from. In the area of human capital development and getting investors into an environment, the essence of an investor into an environment is to create jobs and also to create opportunities for people to be gainfully empowered, employed, or sustained. Indirectly also creating a venue to improve the tax system of the states. Now, for instance, we are trying to talk about the issue of investors coming into an environment. Like my colleague rightly said, there is need for us to have memorandum of understanding.
Okay.
But beyond that,
between the government and the investors,
it is a tripartite arrangement.
Okay.
The government must have their stake.
Okay.
The investors must have their stake. The host community would even have more stake.
Okay.
Than even whoever that is coming. And now, what will be their stake? First, we need to understand the lacunes involved in the process. Because of the failing process of honoring, you discover that most of the host communities, rather than creating opportunities to create a space for the young people, they put selfish interests. They esteem their need, or they esteem their need above others.
Okay.
What do I mean by esteeming their need above others? It is practically clear that perhaps the people in that environment, you must know their needs. What are their basic needs? Their basic needs will form part of your memorandum of understanding. But in most cases, you discover that leaders, opinion-minded persons in that environment begin to negotiate beyond the basic needs of the young people there, who actually would have been the foundation, of such economic development. So that's the missing link. Until we get the missing link clear,
okay,
in order to allow the young persons to be inclusive in the process. Okay. Otherwise, there will be.
Thank you very much, Mr. Collins. And Mr. Israel, please, Mr. Collins actually talked about youth inclusiveness. And I also want to ask you, what is your take on youth inclusiveness in Nigeria?
May I use this opportunity to tell people out there, why are we all advocating for youth? We're advocating for youth because agility and productivity work in the same way. They work together, they are in tandem. Now we're talking about youth inclusiveness in governance and in politics because youth have the agility at the moment. The strength you have today, in the next 15 to 20 years, you can't have it again. And it's that strength that we need for productivity. So we're calling on everybody, and most especially the youth, that you have to use the agility in you now to work for your country. Your country needs that agility for productivity, high level of productivity. And that is what is thriving in the Western world. That is what they capitalize on. They capitalize on your agility at that moment.
So at this time, are you actually putting the blame on the youth or the government?
For sure. With the youth, we have 60%, portion of the blame. If I may use the blame game theory, we have.
Okay, and Mr. Miller, quickly, how will you also put the blame? Is it the blame should be on the government?
I want to disagree with my brother.
Okay, quickly, just do that.
Let me just wrap it up. Let me tell you. Our policies, the issue of youth inclusion should not be just rhetoric. We should not just be talking about it. Exactly. It should reflect in the policies of government. Let me give you, for instance, during the Buhari's administration, there was something I noticed that happened across the federation. The issue of low-cost housing scheme across the country. And they brought investors in real estate to build this one. We have one in Delta State, I think too. Yeah. We have across the state. Now contracts were given. Did they give this contract with recourse to local content? Yes, when an investor comes and says we want to develop an estate, we should come into PPP partnership. Have you told them that for you to deliver this project, you must use 80% of our local content in the state? We have artisans in this state, and we have a database of artisans that you can use to supply your concrete, to supply whatever you want to do. We have, like in Delta State, which is my state, the governor is carrying a multi-billion drainage contract. We also have a multi-billion secretariat contract. We had our stadium constructed recently. How many people, how many youths were part of this? How many youths of Delta State supplied concrete? How many youths of Delta State supplied the wood?
And so you actually put the blame on the government in youth inclusiveness.
The point I'm saying is that the most powerful tool to drive the economy of any nation is the government policy. Okay. It must start with the government policy. It is if you go to the US, nobody wants to ask you for job. Every year, everybody look out at the policy direction of the government and key into the policy direction. Now, policy direction of a government, if it's infrastructure development, the youths will key in by utilizing the local content.
I'll quickly come back to you. Mr. Elvis, let me quickly ask you. We've been talking for the past few minutes and no one has actually talked about agriculture. I want us to please, is it that agriculture is a big barrier to us as youth, or it is not well defined to us to invest in? So how come we don't talk about agriculture and today we always talk about youth inclusiveness and politics? How come we don't have youth inclusiveness in agriculture?
You talked about human capital development is a part of agriculture per se, because as far as I'm concerned, agriculture is the new oil.
Sure.
Because to me, I feel we as young persons in this country, we are sleeping too much lately. Yes, everybody just wants to drive big cars and all that. Let's take the statistics of you've eaten today. You ate either maybe carbohydrate, protein and all that. Somebody went to the farm to get that. And just imagine if we as citizens of this country, let's say we're about 200 million, I was meant to understand, we eat 100 naira daily. If one person is the one producing what we eat daily, you can imagine what that person will make. I think it's time we started shifting our mind towards agriculture. It's just here in the south too. Back in the west, as in southwest of this country, there are a lot of young persons majoring in agriculture and they are doing very, very well. Firstly, you will never get hungry as a person in your house. You will be feeding people. You will employ people.
And so why are you shying away from it? Is it that because it is a dirty job and we really don't want to stay in our hands?
And that's why we're no longer dirty, it's not digital.
Okay.
There's one lady I know who calls the sexy farmer, sexy successful farmer in the West. You get, it's just, I feel people they've not given that sense of, they've not given young people back here. I'm talking about South. Maybe they've given us this culture of once you get into oil, you get big cars, or maybe it's only politicians that are doing very, very well here, or like the West. Let me use an example. If within your vicinity there's one young, successful farmer, don't be surprised, the youth in that area will key to that line of that person.
Okay, Mr. Istre, quickly, thank you very much, David. I just want to ask you a very simple question. And the areas of agriculture, how will you recommend agriculture to youth and the government? Will you also say that the government should please, when they are drafting their budget, to also budget, the budget of agriculture should be higher? Or what do you actually recommend to any government in Nigeria?
I give kudos to the government of Muhammad Buhari for driving youths and driving Nigerians in their policy in terms of agriculture. I must give them that kudos regardless of the party divide. Okay. Now, for me, the government in their own have been able to redefine agriculture. Before now, agriculture have been seen as a dirty job because of the way and manner it's been done. And as my convener has said, it's now being digital. We are doing it in a digital form in the sense that implements have been given, been provided for. So I see no reason why youths will not go into it. For him, before now, he used to be he's a fish farmer. He's been doing that for.
You said he used to be a fish farmer. Is he no longer a fish farmer?
He is, but you know, it's seasonal.
I just wanted to be very clear on that.
At the moment, those fish is seasonal.
Okay.
It's seasonal business. So my recommendation is that youth of our time, agriculture have been redefined. If it is your passion, if it is your wish, go into it on a digital way.
Mr. Istre, just a moment. Are you saying that it is not also right for you to also invest in agriculture?
For sure, it is very.
So what step have you actually taken as a youth to also invest or to encourage youth to invest in agriculture?
It's right for youth to invest in agriculture. As I'm talking to you, I am into palm. I'm into palm in my community.
Okay.
In Mbiri, Kanotis local government.
So how many youth have you been able to encourage and to join you in farming?
All my friends that are around, I do tell them because that is my passion as regards in agriculture. That is what I know about. I have the technicality and everything about it. So you know one thing we do here is we want to imitate what we do. Don't imitate me. Go into your passion. You may have passion in snake. Are you getting it?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Collins. Let me please come back to you and still the same on the area of agriculture. How do you rate the government of Dr. Ifeanyi Okonkwo of Delta State in the terms of agriculture?
Well, I will always align my thoughts with my colleagues on the decks here. But you also, when you talk about agriculture, you must stratify. Beyond the fact that people are into fish farming, people are into poultry, but we will talk about the crop aspect of farming. I feel that the governor has done very well, creating enabling environments through the YAGEP project. But I also feel there is a missing link, and that missing link, we must address that.
Okay.
We must address the missing link as it reflects to the multiplication factor in our society. I'm aware, I'm sorry I'm saying it. Beyond the fact that the policy or the program is a laudable initiative, just to create opportunity between the middle class. We must also condemn the politicization aspect of the policy, where these days, for you to be a beneficiary, because that's the missing link, for you to be a beneficiary of the process, you must go through some political scheming. If you don't come through the local government, who is the party in the leader, who is the party in the ward.
So Mr. Collins,
I'm coming, sir, sorry, sir. We must get the missing link clear. Okay. Without that, we would make mistakes. First, we must, condemn such process. Because one, I may not, as a person, I'm just using myself as a case study, he has passion in agriculture. I may not have passion in agriculture, but you see, when the governor calls for adverts, for total number of persons are specified for a particular period of training, rather than people looking at creativity and the competence of those who are actually interested in such, it becomes an all-comers affair.
So, Mr. Collins,
I'm coming, sir. Sorry, sir. Please,
quickly,
sir.
Just a moment, sir. Just a moment. I still want to ask you very few questions. What areas can the government also do to be able to eradicate nepotism and from their leadership, so that individuals, the common man, the layman, can also benefit from the program?
Ordinarily, the governor has actually made his point clear. In the process of distributing such forms, he insisted clear that it must be given to those who are passionate to take the responsibility.
How do you know those?
Now, what we need to do now is to enforce the decision of governor towards such action. But it's not enforced.
Whose responsibility for the enforcement?
The responsibility of enforcement is you and I, the system, and the agency that is required to drive the process.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Collins. Mr. Leone, quickly, I also want to let's focus on Delta State. And viewers, we really want to talk about Delta State because it's a very unique state, and that's why we're talking about the state. And how would you actually rate the government of the leadership, I beg your pardon, of Dr. Ifeanyi Okonkwo in terms of leadership and inclusiveness, the youth inclusiveness in leadership, I beg your pardon?
Well, generally on governance, Senator Dr. Ifeanyi Okonkwo is trying, but on youth inclusiveness, I must be very fair to you. I am not impressed. We must begin to understand, to differentiate these terms, young persons and youth. When you are talking about youth inclusiveness, it should be youth inclusiveness, not young persons inclusiveness. Because in our own time, being young is relative.
I beg your pardon. What is the age bracket between of a youth?
I think this is a hangout.
Yes.
Allow me to buttress it.
No, I just quickly want to know the viewers are very interested to know.
Yes, I am getting to that before you.
No, just please answer that before you go.
Yes, if you want to tell me, by all standards,
okay,
there are some United Nations pegging youth at 25 and all that. But in Africa, we are Africans. We are looking at persons between the age of 18, or they say 15 to 35. Now, to extend it,
that's also the standard of the United Nations, between the age of 16 to 35.
Yes. Now, if you want to extend it higher, given the current advocacy on youth inclusion vis-a-vis not too young to lead, you can extend it to 40.
Why extend it?
Wait, no, allow me to learn. But when you take a view of the current, the appointment so far of the governor, you know it is lacking in terms of youth. We had 25 commissioners appointed. I really don't know the exact age of Ifeanyi Gwenga, but I believe that is the only person among the all.
And that is how many percentage we're looking at?
It's even lesser than a percentage.
Okay, Mr. Isaac, quickly, let me also ask you on
2%, right?
on the federal level, which is President Muhammadu Buhari's leadership. How would you also rate his performance when it comes to youth inclusiveness in his leadership?
It's a mockery of governance if we want to look at it in that manner at the federal level. The government of Buhari has not.
So are you saying he's not a youth-friendly president?
Of course. That was why he said, if you remember when he was signing the amended law of the Not Too Young to Run bill, he said we should wait till 2023. Imagine that. It's a big ridicule. It's a paradox of his own. He hasn't. No. The federal government led by Buhari has not been friendly, has not been inclusive, has not been. Let me just.
Mr. Ivy speaking. Let me also thank you, Mr. Ismail. So please, what are your recommendations to the federal government and President Muhammadu Buhari? Your advice to him on how he can perhaps include youth to his leadership.
Okay, thank you very much. Firstly, President Muhammadu Buhari, you and I know is an old person. He's old. This is not to say he should go alone with his folks and other his friends. But we are living in an evolving world. Like, things are changing. You get what used to be obtainable like 2 decades back is not what is obtainable now. And while they were growing up, they didn't have smartphones. You get, we are more exposed.
Okay, you saying that as a barrier?
No, I'm not saying so. We are not exposed to what, they are not exposed to what we are exposed to. So to me, I feel if you really want to get Nigeria working, if you want to get things going on in Nigeria, you should bring in young persons with character and content. Because these same old folks you bring, not that they won't be there, they should come as advisors. These same old persons you bring, they will bring in a stereotype of their analog experience. Why we?
So are you saying that the youth of these days are the digital, while the whole people are the analog?
Yes,
is that what you're saying?
That is what I just said.
Okay, so why did we actually vote for an analog when we know we are digital?
Okay, I wouldn't want to go into that, but yet I know this is a country where abnormality becomes a norm because of sustained mediocrity.
And so how do we correct it?
We can't see. I have to be honest with you. The fight to correct this country, the people that will gain this thing is not you and I. It's our generation yet to come.
Which are the
as we are raising up our children, we should raise them up in a way that they should be fair, integrity, value. If you raise your kids in that way, I raise mine in that way, this person raise his in that way, my dear, this country will be a better place. You get, for now, the job for our generation to make it happen is going to be very, very difficult because they've induced in us that abnormality character. It's not to say we can't have it.
Mr. Ivan, just a moment quickly. Let me ask Mr. Collins and the very last question before we have the opportunity to at least say one word to Nigerians and to the youth of the society. Mr. Collins, and you know, there's one thing we've actually observed in Nigeria and indeed Africa, that our leaders are busy trying to develop Africa and their continent, which is Nigeria, their nation, and they find it difficult developing the people. So how would they actually achieve success and be able to develop and have a good nation without developing the people? Is it possible?
Developing the continent without developing the people, that is a clear case of absurdity.
Okay.
Now, like I said when I began my conversation, I said there is no future for us without us.
That's true.
You need to look at the instruments that have established us as a nation and as a continent, looking at the laws surrounding us, looking at the organizational unions like the AU and ECOWAS and the rest. That is where we have our problems. You must have been able to make your research to find out that Africa, we have a problem, and one of the problems we have is that we are good at making policies, but where we have problem is implementation. And that is why you see today the system was created to reabsorb and recycle old brigades in the process, disconnecting from the younger generation. What we should be doing as young people is to continue to advocate for inclusion. We are having a missing link, and one of the missing link is this. We need to understand, like I said before, that there was a build-up in 2012 where it was a coalition of various groups, and in 2019, before general election, the build-up gave room for youth inclusion. But that is not enough. The system, the organization has created that platform. It's all left for you and I to drive the process. Trickling it down to our states is our major responsibility. But then we need to also understand who are the young people, who are the youths. How well will this agitation or advocacy be impactful in our life as citizens or as people of the society? Now, we keep agitating for youth inclusion. We talk about the young people. We talk about participating. I am not here particularly to talk about youth in politics. That is a section of the discourse entirely. I'm talking about youth involved in policy and decision-making arm. So if we regulate policies that affect us positively, we must engage with it. Because whether you like it or not, there are a lot of young people who actually are not politically inclined, and they are not interested in politics. They are excelling in their career. Yes. We need to also understand one thing, and let me disabuse our mind of a certain thing. I disalign my thoughts with that philosophical quote that says that we are the future leaders of tomorrow. The truth is that we have not even seen the future of tomorrow. And you want us to become leaders.
You must become a leader,
now,
a good
let me define, in practical terms, let me define why I disalign my thought with that idea. When I was in school, then I was traveling on a long distance. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, we ran into a robbery scene. And funny enough, one of the robbers happens to be an alumnus from my own alma mater. But I didn't know. He never knew I was. But immediately they shut us down and everybody laid down on the floor. And they started harassing every one of us. We were three of us, students from that same institution. I don't want to mention the name of the school so that I will not make a public discourse. But in the course of it, the man summoned courage and came to us. My friend, will you raise your head up? And he started embarrassing us. And we shouted, sorry sir, we are students. And he said, student of where? We mentioned the name of our institution. And the next thing the man did, he took us by the arms and took us to a corner. He said, are you sure? Can I have your identity? And we brought out our identity. And he saw it. He said, no, this cannot happen. And he took us to the corner and gave an instruction. He said, these three guys should be let go. But however, he said to us, do you know that where you came from is where I graduated from? Go to that department, so and so year. You will see my name, my result. You will see, in fact, mention the lecturers. He did. And we went back to school. And we went to that and verified that first, he was a graduate of that institution. Now you look at what the society has patterned into. Now what you need to understand is that if he is a future leader of tomorrow, he has started manifesting that future already. So I disalign my thought that I am the future leader of tomorrow, but hopeful of today. So definitely there is need for us to invest strongly in our young people, so that we can take over the mantle of leadership, for tomorrow. And
thank you very much, Mr. Collins. And before we wrap the program, let me quickly call on Israel, please, and tell us You actually said President Buhari has not been youth-friendly to Nigerian youth. And Mr. Ogheneyole said Governor Ko actually appointed a youth not quite long than them. But I also want to say quickly, before you rate Governor Koa, let me also remind us that the governor has also made history before, appointing the youngest aide in his government in Nigeria. And I think no one has done that. How will you also rate Mr. Governor, His Excellency, Senator Dr. Ifeanyi Okonkwo, on his youth friendliness to Deltans?
The person of Governor Kowa has done a bit well, but we are asking for more.
Okay, are you all about twins asking for more?
Yeah, sure, we're asking for more.
Okay.
He's done a bit well in giving us, okay, as according to, he said 2%, we're asking for 35%.
So how do you really ask for more, to agitate for more, to advocate for more?
In appointing positions, in SSCs, in boards, he should use youths, most especially in technical boards.
Okay.
Youth will be useful in those boards.
Okay.
We're asking more youth into the system.
Creative skills and creative ideas.
And more. And without engaging more youth, and you want him to also to increase the numbers of appointees.
Yes.
And so that youth can also be part of his leadership and decision in Nigeria. And quickly before we go, I also want to say, Mr. Elvis, one word to Nigerians and to Delta and the youth of Africa.
To my fellow Nigerian youth, we don't have any other country outside this country. Our attitude as youths, as citizens, as young persons in this country will determine how our brothers abroad will be treated, how they will be, the reception they will give them when they get to maybe an airport outside this country. We all have been empowered one way or the other to play a role in making this country, in making this continent an enviable continent. Let's look around. There's a problem that needs to be solved.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Elvis. And Mr. Collins Okonkwo, before one word and to Nigeria, I also want to please beg you, what do we need to do as youth? If Nigeria failed today, it means the youth has failed in Nigeria. So what?
The only thing I need to tell us is that let's keep organizing ourselves. Certainly our day shall come.
Mr. Yole, please, one word and to Nigerian youth and indeed Deltans.
Thank you very much. I'm talking about Nigerian youth and Africans and Deltans. One thing I want to say is consciousness and action. Youth should begin to take action on everything. Even you don't need to be in the cabinet to make your point.
Okay.
On every policy, look out for people or youth related policy and speak out. The more we begin to speak out and take actions against the misgivings in the society, the government and the system will begin to sit up. Inclusiveness is beyond appointment. In every area, if you see a policeman harassing somebody on the way, as a youth, you should go close. What is happening? You see any misgiving in the society, you see somebody throw something into the gutter, you should tell him, no, this shouldn't happen. In all areas of our economy, our youth should begin to sit up. I get irritated when I say something about the government that I am part of, I voted for, and somebody will come to the platform and tell me, allow the governor or the president to do what he wants. You are not to tell him what. Who told you? This is democracy. Government of the people, for the people, and by the people. So we should, as youth, understand that we don't need to have a position of power before we can take our destinies. We should continue to take action on every bit.
Mr. Vena, thank you very much for also advising youth to also know their rights. It is very good. Mr. Israel, quickly, before you say one word, I also want to please remind you that is it good for youth to always engage government regularly?
Sure. Interface. Very well. Interface is a welcome development. Youth should be ready to do that. What I want to say is that youth should read, youth should teach, youth should speak. Interface is a very lovely word.
Thank you very much, my very distinguished guests today. And today we're going to wrap it up here. And I, Martins Akpobi, thank you viewers for watching Delta Online TV, and we hope to have you next week. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure having you, Mr. Elvis. It's a pleasure having you. It's a pleasure having you. Thank you very much.